Welcome back. We are on the Built on Air podcast. Good to be back with you. Today is season 23, episode 5. And we are going to talk about some latest features. We'll run through all the latest updates in the last month or so and any other interesting news and highlights and things like that. Good to be back with everyone. Camille, Ali, and myself, Dan, with you each week to give you up to date on all the latest and greatest of Airtable world. So with that, let me start off. I gotta share my screen. Make sure this works. There we go. We have another hackathon coming up. Ali and Camille, you guys are much more involved in this, so why don't you give us an update on what's going on here?
Yeah, super exciting. We had so much fun last time that we're going to do it again. And this is really spearheaded by Mike Simmons of Automatic Nation. And he's very passionate about the community. He really wants this to be a community-led event. Last year, technically, but it was just in November. We had a little over 20 submissions, and you can look at them here. There were some really, really cool things that people were submitting. It was so hard. Camille, myself, and Ben Green were the jury to award one of the awards. And a lot of people submitted games last year, which I found really fun. And a lot of people have come on this podcast and showed some games. There's been a lot of games demonstrated at Daretable over the years. So this time we decided to pick a theme for the hackathon, and the theme is Let's Play. And so we're opening it up, whatever you take from that theme. If you want to build a game, something you just think is fun, that would be amazing. So signups are now. You don't necessarily need to sign up before the event, but the window to submit, I believe, is March 1st through the 17th. And you can submit something during that window. And at the end of that, we're going to select 3 winners. I believe there's 3 prizes. One from Airtable themselves. They're going to be selecting an AI specific winner. And then there will be a community chosen winner and a jury chosen winner.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, so March 1st is the deadline. So that's coming up. Oh, let's see. March 17th is the deadline, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So between March 1st and March 17th. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, so we'll get involved. I know we'll try to promote it on our podcast and channel and get involved in that way. So love to see what everybody builds and showcase having fun with Airtable, playing good stuff.
Yeah, not long after the first hackathon, I recreated a card game known as Flip 7 in Airtable, and I don't believe I'll be submitting because I may or may not be on the jury again this year. We'll see. But I can show it on the podcast for inspiration for anybody who is wondering, what kind of games could you replicate in Airtable? All of the submissions from last year are available to watch on YouTube. Through this website, you can find all of the submissions, and the creator of each of those submissions will give you a run through. Some of those submissions for the games, someone built like D&D in there. So the sky is the limit. It's really, how much patience do you have? That's really the question. So if you have big ambitions, you might want to start before March 1st, just so you give yourself that wiggle room, but it's all in good fun. So whatever fun idea you have, I think this is just a good time to like flex your skills.
Absolutely. Yeah. Get creative. Super fun. I remember one time in like 2018, Airtable did a formula contest, and one of the winners was a rock, paper, scissors game. and they had made a formula that would just return either rock, paper, or scissors. And I think they did it based on like the last digit in the current millisecond or something like that. It was cute.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I imagine some of the applications will leverage maybe the custom interfaces or something, which, you know, opens it up completely, which I'm a fan of. I'm a developer, so I like doing that. But there's something to be said with the constraints of old school Airtable and figuring out workarounds around those constraints.
Makes you get creative.
There should be like brownie points for like overcoming the obstacles of Airtable.
And sometimes you have to start with those obstacles so you can really think through, is this feature actually needed, or am I just, you know, adding it just to add it? Or, yeah, it really is needed, so I need to find a different approach to implementing, or even go above and beyond and make a completely custom interface for it. I generally now see the constraints of SaaS applications almost like prompts in and of themselves of, is this enough? It might be, but if it isn't, what can I do?
Yes.
Yeah, very true.
Where could it go wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's even got a weird idea generator as well, so if you need inspiration.
I like that. There was one on there that was like tool for grandma or something that I thought that was cute.
I saw if Airtable had feelings, which is just everything Chris Dancy has built.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
yeah. All right. Okay, let's talk about Airtable is making waves. So there's an article in TechCrunch, an interview with Howie Liu, CEO of Airtable. Interesting. I thought it was interesting. It does talk about their public valuation. At one point was 11.7, now roughly 4 billion on secondary markets. But they are profitable according to what this says. So anyways, give some behind the scenes info on the company. But they launched a new product, Super Agent. We've talked about it, actually broke it here. I believe Ben Bailey was the one that broke it in the community, and it was while we were doing a live podcast. So we showcased it here first, and got a chance to play with it a little bit. So I thought we'd, anyways, a couple of things from this article that were interesting is he just talks about, you know, what he thinks of this product and the potential for it, kind of views it as, you know, the future, and even someday, not anytime soon, but thinks that it could potentially surpass, you know, what Airtable as a product is. And so that's for me where I'm curious of like, okay, well, how much are they betting on this product, or is this more of a proof of concept to flesh out technologies and things like that? I'd be curious to see where they take Super Agent and what kind of emphasis they put on it.
Yeah, this one was interesting. We had seen before, and we've talked about previously on the podcast, Airtable had made some acquisitions that were in the AI space. And I think this is kind of like an offshoot of one of those acquisitions. And it was different in some of their other announcements where Product Central is a separate like SKU than like an Airtable subscription, if you will, but it's still Airtable. You know what I mean? It's packaged a little bit differently, and it has a slightly different set of features, but it is ostensibly Airtable and recognizably so. Super Agent feels like a completely different product that just so happens to be owned by the same company. So it's not as it's easier to define, I think, what Super Agent is, as opposed to Product Central, where we were like, what is this? This is just interfaces. This is different in that regard, but it is also interesting how much emphasis seems to be placed on Airtable.com's homepage of like, use Super Agent. But if I needed Airtable, that's not what Super Agent is. It's something else.
Yeah. I saw somebody I really enjoyed seeing the posts on LinkedIn about like how people are using Super Agent, the people that are using it and what they're doing with it. There were a couple ideas that people had that I thought were interesting. Like one was just trying to use it to like start approaching how to solve a problem, like putting in like, I need to do this. How do other people do it? And getting like basically a big manual on how people do solve that problem. And then another really interesting one was actually making a proposal for a potential client. Like they loaded in their deck, the client's deck, they loaded in what their goals were, and then had it output like a project plan in a really visually stunning way. So I'd be interested to just see how well those came out. And
Yeah.
like, can you tweak them afterwards? Like, can you hook it up to your real data?
Yeah. We'll play with that in a second. Yeah. This other quote I thought was interesting. So Howie kind of talks about this wartime leadership, being very fast on the draw to be able to adapt, the most value creative way to run things right now. It's also the most exciting way to do things. So it might be a little fast and loose with new products and things like that. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. This wartime leadership kind of implies where Airtable's at. Yeah, I'd be curious to know if they still have intentions to go public and timeline for that. I know at one point they felt like they were getting pretty close, but this loss in value might be looking for ways to gain that back. So. All right. Yeah. So let's look at Super Agent. So essentially what it is, it's a chat interface. It's really a asset building solution. There's no direct ties to Airtable. Like it doesn't ask for, a sync to your Airtable or anything. So it really is a completely separate product. Under the hood, what it does, why don't we, any ideas of something we could build? One thing I thought would be interesting, I've seen examples of like their slide deck, super report. I haven't seen their website builder. So I was thinking maybe we kick off a website builder.
Sure.
Maybe
let's do it.
We could have it generate built on air.
Perfect.
Okay, let's do that. I want to do this. I want to select website and we're going to run. So we won't watch this whole thing, but it basically kicks off a bunch of agents that do different things. So it's got 4 steps of planning, researching, verifying, synthesizing. So it sends out all these web crawlers that do market research and competitive analysis and everything like that. And you can't really do a whole lot during this. That's one area I think it could be better, is like breaking it, and you could check off the planning and researching and say, yeah, I think we're good before you move on. It just kind of does everything for you, which I think is cool for demo purposes, but real world, I think we're going to need more control to fine tune it. But anyways, while this is, okay, yeah, there you see. So now here's all the agents that are running and doing the web research. And so the cool thing I think is, and I think I saw somebody post this in one of the communities, is they're expanding their abilities, and this understanding of these types of agents will hopefully eventually make their way back into Airtable and the agent fields that Airtable has. So they are expanding their understanding of these technologies and whatnot. But let's look at a built one. This one was kind of cool. So this was one of just their examples. So it gives you a sense of, I think this is considered a super report. So it's basically a full-blown report and fully interactive. the prompt was to do an analysis of the different AI coding assistants, Cursor, Windsurf, and Claude Code. And so yeah, it kind of built this report. You can then prompt it, you know, because it doesn't have the one that I'm currently using, which is anti-gravity. So let's see if it will. See what it does. See how much you can modify it. Because a lot of these tools, where I think it's lacking is you want to be able to get in here and like, you know, just make changes to like a single page or something. Because now it looks like it's going back and rebuilding the entire report. Maybe that's because mine was more extensive to add to the entire report, but let's see. Yeah, so it's going through the entire process. But yeah, most people, I think, you know, you almost want like a working document at this point that you can then modify and be like, oh, I want you to reword this paragraph and, you know, things like that, or modify this chart.
Can you only prompt it to do modifications?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the output. Yeah.
I know it would be difficult to standardize, but I think what would be nice is after it reaches a certain point, there's almost like a database where you can have a record per each of the assistants that you want analyzed. So you could just add a new row and then super agent would pick up, oh, there's a new row. Let me do all the same steps I did for each of the previous records for this new one, rather than everything has changed. Let's start over. You don't have to start over, except for in this particular use case, there might be a section somewhere on here where it compares specific ones against each other. Maybe that section might need to change because now you have a new thing to compare. But stuff like that chart that was just on screen where each one was just its own column, you could just add another column. The other columns are fine.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where like I kind of view this, like this output is awesome. I mean, it's definitely, you know, like these kinds of charts, you know, I haven't used another AI builder. There is one builder that I've been playing with that makes cool charts, not like this, but it's called Napkin AI. That's pretty cool. Built some nice charts and graphs. But I haven't seen one that does stuff like this. So definitely some cool output. You know, but I still kind of view this as like demoware. Like it has like a nice wow factor to it. Not quite functional.
When it's done, this looks like a single page web app to me in terms of like, what is it? It's not a PDF and it's not a video and it's not a presentation as in slides. Are you able to download it and customize it yourself, or what do you do?
You can extract PDF.
So you can publish it, and then so this one.
Okay.
So this one, you know, you could save it like any web page, but it doesn't have an export.
I think if you did the deck version, like the one that you start with the deck, it would let you export it.
Yeah. But it's like, it'd be really hard. Like, where was that? Where was that? Yeah. So like this try debug, I don't know what's going on here. It's kind of cool, but if like you wanted to like improve just kind of this functionality, it's kind of going crazy now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, like that you need to be able to like zone in on just this mini app that it built, make changes to this without going through the entire rebuild process. Yeah. So, but yeah, it is for the right audience.
Wow.
it is cool. Like it's building mini apps and things like that.
It is certainly visually like stunning. It just
Yeah.
I'm missing the customization component.
Yeah, I just don't think we're at the point where purely through prompting you'll get exactly what you want / need. This does look like it gets you pretty darn close. However, there's little stuff like if you wanted to add your company's logo, I feel like that shouldn't have to be something that you'd have to go through a prompt to do. I feel like that should just be a thing you could click. So it might be a little bit leaning too heavy on the agentic nature for me, but in terms of like the promise of it to generate a pretty interactive, visually appealing. I'm not reading this analysis as it's on screen, but I'm assuming it's a fairly decent analysis of each of the three agents that it's covering in the content. It's pretty impressive, but there are some things that I would personally want before I could like deploy this.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd be curious to know who their market is. I have seen on X and other places, like definitely has the wow factor. You know, for the most part, people are impressed. We'll see what kind of traction it gets or how this ties into Airtable.
I'm remembering my old boss back when I was an urban planner. We were going over. Our company was hired to redo a plan that at that point was like 30 years old. And in the plan, it had like some sections and diagrams, some renderings of what the area could be, typical planner stuff, and they looked beautiful. And my boss, who had 40, 50 years experience in the field, took one look at it and said, that doesn't work. And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, well, the width of that street isn't wide enough to fit emergency vehicles, which is required by law. So it looked great, but the content wasn't quite there. Again, I'm not sort of saying that what we have on screen, the content isn't what it needs to be. But if you needed to tweak the content, you should be able to get in there and do it yourself. And current state, it seems like it might be a little bit difficult. So I'm still remembering her teachings in sort of do not be fooled by it looking pretty. It's got a function as well, and it looks pretty, and I'm sure it functions, but part of functioning means you got to be able to slap your logo on something, little stuff like that.
Yeah. Let's see where our website is. Oh, we're still researching.
Oh, wow.
And
no,
to be fair, it would take significantly longer for a human to go through each of these steps by itself. So yes, for a live demo such as this, it would have been cool if we came back and it was done. But in fairness, it takes time to build a website, whether it's hand built or built by AI.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'd be curious with this one, like the website builder. Even just there are some pretty advanced website builders using AI now out there. I've been using a few of them lately, and they get more granular. Like this is going to be kind of a one-shot attempt, and you're not going to want to make changes that take this long. And so I don't think they'll be competitive on the website building, but maybe on the content side, because they're doing all this research on the copy side. The other ones are more for the visual design layout. So I'd be curious to see what kind of content this creates. So maybe we'll come back to it. Still verifying on this one. Okay, now we're generating output.
This feels like a silly question, but if you close this tab and come back to it, is it going to remember where you are in the chat, or is it strictly stored in like your session?
It keeps a chat history over here. So I think, yes, because I can jump. Yeah, and it knows where it's at.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, maybe at the end we'll come back and check that out. So let's move on for now. We'll come back to that. Okay. Speaking of playing with Airtable, in the Built on Air community, just this morning, a friend of the show, Rob Widener, who actually will be coming on to showcase some other stuff that he's been working on in a couple of weeks, but he just released, we are in the middle of the Winter Olympics, and released a custom interface extension to track the Olympics, the gold, and you can actually play along and predict who's gonna get the gold, silver, and bronze for each of the events. And it is even doing pulling in all the results by using a web agent. So that's pretty cool. He's not tapping into an API call or anything. It's just a field agent going out and web searching and pulling in the latest standings for the Olympics. Looks like it refreshes every 15 minutes. So let's check it out. So he's got a link to it. He also released the code so you can see what a custom extension looks like and how that works. You can set it up. I got close to setting it up. There's one thing I couldn't overcome, but he actually, I think, responded during the show that says he updated it. So it's likely available now. So here's the custom interface. So it shows what's on, what's coming up, all the upcoming events. Let's see, full schedule here. You can see this does not look like it was built with standard Airtable interfaces. So this was all custom built. And he goes through how he built it, the technology used and approach. And this was all built with AI Claude code. Let's see here. The thing that impresses me with this approach is this hybrid approach. So you see here, this is a standard Airtable form. And so just that integration between the custom and then opening up a standard form that you can configure through the standard interfaces. It's very interesting. It's different than other platforms that are one way or the other. So I'm really curious how this like hybrid approach plays out.
Yeah, one of the things I miss most from data layer interfaces are extensions. What is the current term? Okay, thank you. Because they changed it on me twice.
Yeah.
Extensions for data layer. The SDK for that includes some pre-made components for inputs so that you can collect data to edit or create new records in Airtable and have it look like Airtable. You don't have to code those yourself. But the extension SDK for interfaces doesn't have that. So using just an embedded Airtable form lets you not have to go find the exact right styling of every like select component under the sun to make it look like Airtable so you could edit data is probably a significant time savings. And then you get the benefit of Airtable form validation, which isn't the most advanced in the world, but can do certain things like only let you select records that are related to whatever thing you just clicked on. So things like that come enabled with this approach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even one of the biggest ones here is like knowing who filled out the form. You have to have an Airtable account. So, okay, I just made my pick.
Love it.
For Luge, and it's even smart enough to know which events have already passed, and so you can't pick, events that already happened. So that's cool. Just things that you just can't do with Airtable. Having like different layouts per row, per record. There's so many times I've been like, if the field has this type value, I want to show these fields. If not, I want to show these other fields. Things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, but
So,
custom interface extensions are huge for that. I've found one thing I just used them for yesterday was I needed a dashboard that had data from 4 different tables, and I wanted to show the totals across the top and have it still be filterable and all this stuff. And I just had it. I was like, show me these things in like number elements at the top. And it was able to do 1 element, 4 tables, 1 interface page. It was really cool.
Yeah.
This is great.
But yeah, this is pretty cool. You get, all the athletes and everything. It's even got community spotlights. I think this is coming in through a field agent likely.
I wonder if that's what the web table that you can try. I've yet to use that AI Labs feature.
Okay, yeah. So Alex works at Airtable, so it's kind of cool. And it's even got news it's pulling in. Let's see. Email a friend. Nope. Even creates an email. All the events. There's a lot going on here. Very cool stuff. The cool thing is he built this interface, and then you can now share interfaces publicly. And so this is now a public, web page. That's cool.
The only thing I'll say is that we are now getting dangerously close to what was my biggest beef with Retool for a while, which was you could build a great app, but it would be a single page web app. And as soon as you needed a second page, it was a completely distinct app. The code couldn't talk to each other. It just is literally not how you would build if you didn't use a SaaS platform to help you build. And what we're currently seeing is a great single page app. But again, as soon as you need another page, it's a completely divorced interface element, so to speak. So what I would like to see is the ability in the future to have more interconnected extensions sort of talk to each other or sort of behave in a way that is more traditional. But that is maybe not the direction that Airtable is going. Perhaps it's fine if they don't, just something that I recall having previous beef with a different company about this.
Yeah. You see here, we go to this other page and it doesn't update the URL. So the URL always stays the same. So there's no state to link directly to this page.
Right. I was just going to say, this is related to what Camille was just talking about. And I don't know if this is just a bug that happened to me yesterday or not, but I created a custom interface element and then I was trying to move it to a different group on a dashboard page. And so I created a new group and then I went to go change the source of that group. And in the source dropdown, usually there's tables. It's all tables. I saw all of the other groups that I had on that page as options to make my source, including custom elements. It was wild. And I tried it and nothing actually happened. So it might have just been a bug, but maybe it's something that's coming. I don't know. If it happens again, I'll send a screenshot in the Built on Air.
That doesn't feel intentional.
No, it didn't.
Dan, what is this? What are we looking at?
So this is one of the Airtable employees built a Olympic athlete comic strip. Discover the stories of Olympic athletes through their AI generated comic strips. So I assume this is real. I hope this is well. Looks like one of the ice skaters is a cancer survivor and came back to win bronze at the World Championships. So I assume this kind of tells their story in comic strip format. So that's kind of cool. So it kind of uses the, I'm assuming it uses Airtable's image generation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So cool.
Fun.
All right. Let's move on. Congrats, Rob, for pulling this off and launching this. And yeah, check it out. He's open to feedback, play with it, make it better. But yeah, there's a ton going on there. Let's move on. Okay, what's new? Okay, so we've already kind of got through all the December ones. I know we talked about this one, display names for linked records. I believe we even demoed it. So let's go on here. Okay, filter your data the way you, not computers, think. Okay, I think a computer generated that. Yeah, so let's check this out. So basically, this is kind of cool, but nothing crazy. I'll showcase this. So if you have a table and you go into filter and you're like, I don't know how I want to group this or whatever, how to figure out the filter I want, you can just type it in here. Like that. And then it automatically creates the filter for you. Lead source is any website. So it did that one correctly. And there you go. Cool. So it's kind of nice. I think I like building my filters. I haven't switched to this one. Formulas, I have switched to using AI to create. Not Airtable's AI, go to ChatGPT, but filters, I don't think I'll adopt this one. I think I'll still build my own filters.
Is this available everywhere you can filter or just in views?
Let's see. Let's see in here. It's not here. I don't know if it's in other interfaces.
I don't believe I've seen it anywhere else, but
yeah. I think they only show it in the data layer. Open the filter menu in any view. Yeah, it's just in views.
Okay.
So, yeah, which is kind of funny because they're trying to push people out of the views.
Sometimes there's feature parity for stuff and sometimes there's not. Like interface filters, you can copy and paste from element to element, which is great. But a lot of the times I'll have like a view in the data layer that is the filters I want, and I want to copy and paste those filters into the interface. So using something like this in the data layer, it might help me write that filter even faster, but then I still have to manually do it over in the interface. So would like to see those features play nicely.
Yeah. 100%.
Or for the user as well, like in this one where the user could filter down. Yeah.
Yep.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
I've also I would love the same functionality, much like how you can do in views in the data layer. You can copy a configuration, which is the field order, the field visibility, the sort order, like all of that kind of thing. Like the filter copying and pasting is great. It's very helpful. I want more. I need to be able to do that with field visibility. Like that would be such a time saver.
Yep. So this is kind of nice to have. I don't think anybody was begging for this feature. Okay, here's one. I don't know who's using HyperDB, but if you are, you can now modify the field types after it's been imported. It used to be you could only set what the field type is when you do the initial import. or configuration, but now you can go back and modify it and change it to a different field type.
Yeah, this is helpful. I'm still waiting on any type of array. You can't. It's a single line or text, date, number, and single select. But those are the only field types, and Boolean, I believe. Those are the only types that are allowed.
Yeah.
Quite
Yeah.
limiting.
So these are all single table still, right? They don't have any linking between tables.
Correct. So you'd have to do that kind of after the fact, and it's more difficult if you have a many to many or a many to one relationship where one of those directions is an array, but you have to treat it as text. So you can't say if your ID is any one of these IDs, for example.
So if you link, but those fields don't get saved back to HyperDB. So if those records get filtered out from your HyperDB filter, and then it comes back a month later, those links are lost, right?
Yeah, it's not great. You have to get real creative real fast with using it. So it's still helpful, but it's not going to solve all your problems quite yet.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan. That was my exact same question, was from the beginning when they said, okay, well, it's stored somewhere else. Like, what happens if those records need to be filtered away and then you need to bring them back? Like, is it basically like a new record?
I don't think it's a new record. Well, in Airtable, yeah. Does it maintain the same like record ID? I don't know.
Right. Does it retain that? Does it retain if you made any edits to that record while it was in the base? Do those come back? Like, I don't know. So many questions.
Yeah, that I think would require some testing to see how that goes, just because it's not you have the HyperDB and there's no like one dedicated base that is the HyperDB instance. You could deploy the HyperDB table to multiple different bases so that you can't just treat one as the owner of which records to keep and which ones not to, for example. And yeah, it's still helpful, but it's not perfect.
Yeah. If there's any HyperDB experts out there that have done experimenting and using it in production, we'd love to have you on and learn more about it. Okay, so that's that one. I'm going to skip one and then come back because this is kind of related. I think in this effort I'm reading between the lines here, this feature, which is basically very annoying, but it now starts to show you if the base, I don't know where their cutoff is when they start to show this, if it literally is anything more than 1,000 records, but it'll start to just show you 1,000 records. It'll give you a message at the bottom showing just the first 1,000 of however many there are. And then you click load all to get all of them. This one, like, I know I've been caught where I was looking for a record. I'm like, where's the record? And then I realized like, oh, it's being cut off. Like it didn't show up in my filter. And
lots of problems with this. I understand why, I get it, but like if you have your view grouped, and then you come back to it, and it has the little red triangle, and so it looks like it's broken, but it's not broken. It's just warning you that it doesn't show all the records. And then the summary bars don't total because it's not showing all the records. But yeah.
At 5,000 is the cutoff when they start to show it.
Early on in Airtable's development, it was decided that they weren't going to paginate. Absolutely no pagination ever unless it's a gallery view, in an interface specifically. And I think the chickens have come home to roost. They've increased how many records can be stored in a table and a base as a whole. And when you load Airtable, it's being loaded into your browser. I'm assuming you're using the browser and not the app, your browser's memory. So you're getting the whole table at once. And if you have a lot of records, it could be slow, but you could have paginated and it would be less confusing. I think people understand pages. It's less intuitive to say, well, here's a random 1,000 of your potentially 100,000 records. Do with that what you will. The odds that the record I'm looking for is in the first 1,000 are slim.
Yeah.
I agree. I think this is a precursor to them figuring out how to expand, and get to pagination, which generates a lot. There's so many ramifications, like scripts that loop through all the records in a table and all sorts of stuff that need to be addressed to be able to implement pagination. I think this is like a precursor to that.
Yep.
Yep.
It does say if you try and search in that view, it will search everything, not just the first 1,000 that are previewed. But yeah, I would like to see where they're going, because there's performance issues generally in Airtable. I think when you get not even at the top of their requirements, but when you get 50,000 records, to me is when I start consistently seeing performance issues with a base. And if you're on the enterprise plan, that's significantly less than half of what you should be able to store. So I'm wondering how they intend to continue to optimize, and this seems like just one of the methods that they might be doing.
Yeah. True. All right. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say, ever since that release, I've had a bug happening that I've been in touch with support about. I'm curious if either of you have seen this, where all of a sudden it'll show that all of my records, or like a handful of them, are just empty, don't have any field values. But I can see on the table, like I have a formula field that's referencing a field that appears to be empty, but the formula would also be empty if it were truly empty. So I was like, that doesn't make sense. Expanded the record, all the field values were there. And then when I closed it and clicked on the record, all the field values showed up again. I have a Loom video of it. It's wild.
Not that exactly, but I have experienced similar sort of data wonkiness. And I think it is related to this, and that, like you were saying, if you're grouping by something, it's not quite working right. I had a view that didn't have 1,000 records. It was fewer than that. And like a group that shouldn't have been possible based on the filter kept appearing. And you opened it up and there were several records in there. I'm putting in quotes because if you looked at them, they were all empty. So they weren't if you expanded them, like they did in fact have data, but I have experienced a similar sort of visual glitch. I don't know what's happening there.
It was really weird. It was exactly that. I had a group at the top that was an empty group. And I was like, I know that those are not empty groups because my filter is set to like only show things that are filled. And I when I did this whole Loom and recorded it and refreshed the page, that empty group went away because all the records went into their actual groups. And I don't know, when I wrote to support, I was like, this is a really scary thing, because not only like were the records not truly empty, but my summary bars were all totaling as if they were empty. Like they were not recognizing or summing those values. So it's wild.
Do you think Airtable's very clear preference in interfaces for lists over grids is because lists don't aggregate?
Maybe. I mean, I just think they look so much nicer, but I miss the summary bar every time.
This is my conspiracy theory. I think there's a significant amount of extra infrastructure or load or what have you that is required to do those aggregations. And I think they've been very clear. Please use a list and not a grid. In fact, you have to go out of your way to make a grid on an interface nowadays.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that might be a reason why.
There's something. Yeah. Be extra careful if you're going off your summary bars. I just make sure refresh the page and then get your total. Because
I freaked out because I thought an automation was running to do the process, and I was like babysitting it, and I thought my automation was deleting my data, and I was like, oh God, I've done the thing every developer fears.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
And no, it was just some sort of bug. But yes, I would venture to guess it's related to this update, and it's confusing to say the least.
Yes.
Yeah,
100%.
interesting. Okay, last one. Automation subscribers, finally. So if you have ever had an error in an automation, which if you've ever built an automation, you likely have. In the past, it used to be whoever was the last to click to turn it on was the one that would get the error notification. And so you'd always, and the only way, and for a while you didn't even know who clicked last. Then they finally added this right here, last updated by, and give the name of who updated it. So you could at least look at this and be like, okay, this person is getting the error notifications. They finally helped with that. And so now you can go here and click manage subscribers and add people, remove people, and decide who gets error notifications. You have to be a base level creator. Well, let's see. Can manage and subscribe, right? So you have to be a creator level to be on the list. Okay. Which is kind of annoying because you can't have like a centralized email to send them to or something. And it has to be a user as well. It can't be just an email address.
I have a lot of thoughts about this implementation. Once again, great idea, excellent idea. And it's implemented in a way that is tremendously frustrating for me. And I believe is the source of another bug. So I work primarily in an enterprise where we frequently have bases that'll have 30, 40, 50 automations. And there has never been a single instance in all of the bases that I manage where an automation failing should alert one person on the team and another automation should alert a different person on the team. If something's wrong with one product, the base, then everybody who should know about it should know. So managing this per automation is so cumbersome to do for 50 automations per base. I would have preferred if this were per base, where all of the people who should be notified about an automation error for this base, set them here, and maybe you can override it per automation. I could see that being useful for some use cases, but then to Dan's point, they have to be a creator. Now, I get that in terms of when an automation fails, the notification it sends you, one is an Airtable notification. So that bell icon in the bottom left, you see it there, but it also emails you. And that email has a button that takes you to this automation. Well, if whatever email it gets sent to isn't a creator, they're not going to be able to open that page. I get it. But at the same time, if you're like me and you have a team, I want to just say, use our group email, which is not an Airtable user. Or I want to set up my own automation where you can have an automation that's when an email is received, I want to set it to that email. So I can have an Airtable automation say, hey, an automation in Airtable failed, do these steps. You can't do that without forwarding your own email after the fact.
Or we actually explored this, creating a user that is the email of a webhook entry into an automation, creating a user with that email. And it's funny because you have to verify that login. So you have to create a user. So first you get the email of an automation entry point, and then you create a user, and you have to like have it send the confirmation email to that automation, and then click on the output to verify that user. So you can actually, but it does use up a license because it has to be a creator level access. So there's a nice hack if you want to try that.
There's so many steps.
That's using the when email received trigger.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Creative. I like it.
Yeah. But yeah, it would be much nicer if you could just put a list of emails of where they go. And absolutely, I don't know how that got through any kind of revision process of that product to be like, let's do it where you have to set it up for every single automation.
I would love to hear from somebody where that is the preferred approach, because it's my experience is not everyone's experience, but I genuinely cannot think of a time where my team is so large that one person is key for this automation and the other 49 are 49 other people.
Yeah.
I had a situation. They when they made this feature, I feel like they changed it so that when it was only one person getting it, they made like all the admins get it for some automations.
Yes.
Not all, it seems. It's really weird. And so this one automation, I had been being really lazy for like a month. I had been getting a daily error that I knew wasn't a real error that I needed to worry about, because it was just somebody put in the year 2 instead of 2002. So it was like not matching up to things, and I just was like ignoring it. And then my boss started also getting that error, and I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Why? But
yeah, the behavior before, if I'm not mistaken, was whoever was the last person to update or turn on the automation would get the email. And if that person's account was deactivated or they no longer had access or creator level access to the base, then every workspace owner would get the email. I think that behavior is still in there, except it's imperfect, which is why I called it a bug, because in my enterprise, the person who is the subscriber, according to this new UI sort of like subscription feature, is still a creator. So why am I getting the email? I look and it says I'm not subscribed. So I feel like it's lying to me. I feel like there's an extra layer of hidden subscriptions, and that should be visible, or it should warn me in some way, because I get emails left, right, and center from stuff I've never heard about.
Yeah, but you're the workspace owner or a workspace owner.
Yeah, but the problem is, my enterprise is massive, so we have multiple org units. These are from different org units that I'm technically a creator by the nature of my job, but it's not my responsibility at all, and it won't leave me alone. How do I get off this?
Yeah. So this is like, thank you, Airtable, for giving us something. Now let's make it usable.
Mm-hmm. It's a solid V1, but I would love to see the V2.
Yeah. Okay, we're coming up on the top of the hour. Let's check in real quick on our super agents, see where we're at. So here's our website. Refresh this page. See where we're at. There we go. This might be there we go. Okay, here's our built-on air. Let's see. Search doesn't work. Look at that. Scott made it. Community Expert of the Week. Congratulations, Scott.
I love it.
Okay, it's good. It's probably better than my current site, but still feels pretty standard AI web generation. Got a lot of pages.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, menu. There we go. Okay. Got a lot of stuff here. And yeah, like the only way to change things would be to reprompt and rebuild everything. So yeah, that's not gonna be.
Huh. Uh-oh.
this is all just random stuff. Interesting. Real quick, let's check out our update, see if it added. This might be a rendering. I think it might be running too much. Yeah, this might be a display memory issue on my machine. Sometimes this does this. So anyways, it did update. I'm assuming it added. It's interesting. Here's like the quick and dirty version, and then this one's the more detailed version that displays for a second. Okay, well, there's your super agent. This might be a me issue and not a super agent issue. So, all right, well, that concludes this week's show. Next week we'll be on and dive deep into a demo use case. So good to see everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.